In this episode of the IT Experts podcast, I'm going to be sharing with you how to lead a remote technical team, how to increase their productivity, how to increase employee engagement, and therefore how to increase your profitability. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, the only podcast to help ambitious IT and tech business owners increase their sales, profit, and productivity. You know, this pandemic thing is taking grasp at the time of the recording, which is now July 2020. We've had this COVID-19 thing over us for many months now. And there's kind of a couple of things that we need to understand here about remote working. Everybody's quite easily in certain businesses have adapted to remote working. For you guys in the tech space, you know, a lot of you guys are remote anyway because you've got people in different countries doing different things. And in this show, what I want to do, I want to share with you some of the tips and the tricks that I've learned literally over the last 23 years. Crikey, that makes me sound a bit old. In leadership development, on how we can get your teams to feel that they're loved, feel that they're part of the business. We can make them more productive. You understand what they're doing, so they're not off cutting the grass when you think they're supposed to be doing some software development or some IT support for you. And yeah, that's what this show is all about. It's about how to help you do that. And we've got some absolutely brilliant tips and tricks here that's going to help you get yourself into a better position as a leader in your organization. So look, I've got some stats here to start with. 48% of business, this is with the Office of National Statistics. Now, I know statistics are a little bit of a dodgy subject at the minute because you never really know who's reporting what, but 48% of businesses are now working from home. Now, I know there's a lot of businesses right now that are in a lot of trouble because they're physical, you know, like the hotel industry and people who need people to kind of have a physical presence. But for yourselves, you know, that is an awful lot of businesses. Now, whether that's you or whether that's your clients, what we've got to think about here is we've got to think about two things really as we go through this show. The first one is about how you're going to adapt to make your business more profitable, your tech business more profitable while working remotely and managing and leading your teams. And the second thing is to think about how this then affects your clients and your clients' ability, because you can then help them. Everyone's now adopting to more tech, right? They kind of haven't had any choice because you're not going to get your Sainsbury's unless you order it through your iPhone. But the most important thing is that we understand how that affects our clients as well. This is an interesting one here. On average, £9,000 has been spent per employee on communications in the tech sector, whether that be on internet, you know, decent phone signal, you know, tech, bits of kit, that sort of thing. That's an awful lot of money. But less than 15% of firms provide any type of technical training to non-technical staff. So what you've got there is if you've got a client base who are not technical at the moment, there's a pretty good chance you could provide some training and support in the tech sector to kind of help them out in their business itself. And do you know what? Once you finish listening to this show, the after effect is that we're going to have an adaptive kind of leadership approach. You're going to be able to improve the productivity of your people. They're going to want to work for you, you know, because they're going to be more engaged. And whatever I talk about through IT Experts, the one thing I really, really love is leadership development and helping understand how you can grow and develop your teams. If you hear me say the word manage, feel free to tell me off. And the reason I don't like the word manage is because manage is a process. You manage a process and you lead people. When you're managing someone, it's almost like you're wrestling and you're kind of fighting with them because they don't really want to do what you want them to do. Whereas when you're leading them, they're coming on your way because they're bought into your business, you're collaborating with them. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So this is why, you know, we're going to help you to lead your tech team in a remote fashion. So look, the really important thing and kind of number one, really, when we're looking at how do we build a high performing remote team, is having a clear structure. So the first one's about having that structure. And a lot of you guys out there in the tech space have quite flat structures. And the reason for that is because you might have lots of development teams. You might have lots of, and what a flat structure is a structure where you've got very few people at the top and then they have lots of reports, you know, lots of people reporting to you. And you do that mainly because you've got a lot of help desk, or you could have development teams that all kind of report into one person. Now, sometimes that can be good, sometimes that can not be so good. The reason why that can't be that great, and normally there's a little term called span of control. And the span of control shouldn't be any more than 10. You shouldn't have any more people with 10 direct reports, because it just becomes unwieldy. To lead them properly, to engage with them properly, to find out what they're doing, to help and support them, you can't really have more than 10. With the structure, everybody must know, who is the boss, who's the guy at the top, who's the guy or the girl at the top, who's in charge of that, and what their role is in the business. Is it to be the visionary CTO or the CEO, etc., etc. Everybody needs to have clear boundaries, and this is part of a great scalable structure. Now, you are never going to scale any business, whether it be an IT or tech business or any business, if you don't have clear roles and responsibilities for people. So you could have your tech teams, your tech IT support, you could have your project team, you could have your first line support, and then your second and third line. Now, what normally happens is businesses are growing and scaling. What they do is they say, oh, can you do a bit of this and then a bit of that? If you're watching this on YouTube, actually, that'll make a little bit more notice, because a little bit more sense, because I'm actually using my hands to describe where I'm going. So if you're on audio, great. If you're on YouTube, great. But if you want to see my hands moving around, get yourself over to YouTube. But basically, in the silos itself, make sure that you keep people in the silos, because for two reasons. Number one, you then systemize that silo. You then have business processes, controls, reports within that silo of, tech support, for example, rather than having a little bit of tech support and then a little bit of software development. I'm going to go and do a bit of cybersecurity. The reason why it's dangerous if you have people going across the silos is when they leave, what on earth are you going to put a job advert out for? I want a tech support guy, does a little bit of software development and some cybersecurity on the side. You're never going to find them. And this is where sometimes within businesses, when they grow, it's like, could you do a bit of this? And try and prevent yourself from doing that. So everybody must have a clear structure, and they must know what their boundaries are. If you are totally remote and your teams are sitting at home or they're at other office locations, they must know what that structure looks like. They must know where their escalation is. When they're in trouble, when they need a bit of a hand, when they've got a difficult client or a technical issue, what are they going to do? What's the first step they're going to do? They need to know who to kind of call to help them out. So number one is a clear structure. Number two is about performance management. Now, I said I wasn't going to use the word management, but I'm going to use the word management in this case, because performance management can be good and can be bad management. Or management of the performance. And what I mean by this is that you can have somebody, you need to have a way where you're recognizing brilliance and great works and innovations and people coming up with some great technical challenges. But you also need to have, when people are poor, underperforming, first thing to think about is, do they need any help or support? Have you actually guided them? Do they know? Is there a training matrix in place? Do they know what they need to be doing? Or is it the usual thing we do? Oh, they're slacking off. They've popped down the shops. They've turned their computer off. They're not doing this. The instant thing is to sometimes go into a bit of a negative state, whereas you need to look in the mirror a little bit and say, have I given them training, development, support? Do they know exactly what they need to do? And this is around making sure that everybody has what we call an IPR, individual performance review. This is their job purpose. This is not their job description. This is their job purpose. I want you to answer this many calls. I want you to deliver this project in this time scale. I need you to make so many connections out on LinkedIn or whatever it might be. Everybody needs to have targets. Everybody needs to have targets that are fed from the top down. So if you're the CEO, how many new customers do you need? What size revenue? You break that down to your business development teams, break that down to the operations team, break that down to the sales teams and all the other people that you've got working within your organization. Make sure you're having regular one-to-one meetings with the guys. Make sure that you're talking about them, you're talking about what challenges they've got, how the support. And this is where the employee engagement comes in. And what employee engagement is where you're starting to get people bought in a little bit more into the business and the purpose, rather than just coming in and doing a job. If you get people bought into your vision, if you get people bought into how you're going to take and grow your business and take it to your next level, then they're going to feel more motivated, that they're going to come in, they've got a purpose, they're getting results, and it's all about that gratification and, kind of getting that little endorphin kick, when you achieve something in your day. So making sure that you're regularly feedbacking, getting their feedback, you're feeding back to them in their kind of one-to-one meeting. As I mentioned before, make sure there's a really clear escalation process. So when things go wrong, who do they need to talk to? Draw it out on a map so they can print it out, or leave it in your Wikipedia or whatever it is in your office, so that you're on your system. And then make it really clear, make sure that you have a really clear expectation exchange. So, you're going to come in to the office. I'm going to pay you some money. This is what you're going to do for my money. I want you to help this many clients. I want you to deliver this project. I need you to reach to this many people, etc., etc. And it's just having around that expectation exchange. When you've got those key areas kind of nailed down and into the kind of the rhythm of your week, that's when your performance management people will, you're always going to get people who are you're going to slack off and knock off early or try and pull the wool over your eyes. And, in my view, it's always a little bit of give and take. There's always something at home that's sometimes going to get in the way. There's always someone that, the doorbell rings when you're trying to be in the middle of a conference call or whatever it might be. And it's a bit of give and take. But when you want them to work a little bit later or you want them to help and support you in a different area, that's when you kind of take it all back. But when you know what they're doing, because they've got their targets, they've got their IPR, their individual performance review form, which is a whole process, and they know how they escalate, then you're going to get yourself a better connection with your people that are out in the field, as it would be, or remotely from yourselves. Next section is around training and capacity. And what I mean by this, when you're sitting at a desk, you could have a guy sitting next to you who's quite junior, who's going to lean over and just going to say, "Oh, Ian, could you help me out with this? I'm having a bit of trouble with this, the system or whatever it might be." Now you're going to lose that unless you've got a live environment that you're always looking through with the team on. So, can I quickly answer a question? Now you can do that. That's not too bad. Some of my clients have a live environment where they see all of their team on the screen, but it's around making sure that people have got an outlet to ask questions, and it's making sure that people are there to ask or to answer and to support those questions, kind of going back. One of the things that we recommend is around a competency matrix. So you put a competency matrix together, which tells you for each role, what is it, the level of service that we want these people to do. And you can kind of grade it up, whether they're red, amber, green, whether they haven't got the skills, need the skills, or have got the skills and they're fine. And you'll start to get a bit of a plan of where your team are sitting, what skills they should be having, and where you need to focus your training. The growth mindset is really important in this sector, because if you've got a growth mindset and they can see that you're being innovative because you're driving the business forwards, guess what they're going to be doing? They're going to be doing exactly the same. They're going to be looking for opportunities, asking high quality questions kind of all of the time. Now, when we talk about capacity, it's really important that you understand as a leader how much capacity your team have currently got. And what I mean by capacity is, if you're going to throw in a load more clients, who's going to deal with them, and how much more capacity have you got in that space? Or are you going to be dealing with some more services? If you went out and sold a whole load more services, new different services to your existing clients, what would that look like in terms of a growth spurt? Would you be able to handle it? Would you still be able to provide great customer service? And finally, on this point, where you've got, you now know your competency matrix, you now know your training, what needs to be done there. The key thing here is, what happens if a new technology comes along? Well, you should always be looking for new technologies anyway, but what happens when that new tech comes in and you now need to bring that in? Where is the capacity? Who's going to start to deal with it? Who's got the experience and the skills to onboard it, to make sure, and then they go and train other people. So obviously, you probably were sitting in an office at one point and now you're not sitting in an office. And it's really key that we make sure we've got those connections, even in the training and development line, where we can help and support, even as though we were just sitting there, to help them grow while you're growing your business as well. Number 4, get the right tech. And this might sound a little bit silly to you guys because you're in tech yourself, but making sure that everybody's got the right tech is really important. And that can boil down to their network, their internet, their internet speed, their PC, laptop, whatever it is that they're using. Don't just assume that because they've left the office, they're okay. They might not have a screen. You're still responsible for DSE assessments, which is called a display screen equipment assessment. How people are sitting, if they're sitting up in their desks, are they slouching? And when they're working from home, there are still some HR and some health and safety things you need to consider for while they're working at home, making sure they've got the right tech. Software, what software are you using? Are you using Teams? Are you using Zoom? Are you using your own CRM? Are you using, Office, other parts of Office 365? Is it all robust? Is everything working well? Are you using all the features? So you might have just bought Office 365 Premium recently, but did you know that all the other features that you've got in there that can help you collaborate and help you work forwards? Remember cyber security, please. I know a lot of people out there are, in that space right now. But when you're going through someone else's, home Wi-Fi, is it secure? Are you going through a VPN? Make sure that you are double protecting yourselves. And everything that I'm talking about in this, from a tech point of view, you need to replicate this out to your clients as well, so that they know that that they're nice and secure as well. Are your people using their own devices? Are they using their own PCs? Are they transferring information off one PC onto a home PC? Is it through their mobile phones? Whatever it might be, just make sure that you've got that covered off. Particularly, I guess, if you've got any accreditations against your business that are saying that you're going to operate in such a way, and then all of a sudden you had that change, are you still compliant, with any of the quality, the ISO regulations, anything like that? With with your OneDrive, with your Google Drive, with your shared drives and everything like that, I know it could be fairly similar, or it is a similar sort of environment that you were when you were in the office, but don't assume that everybody knows how to use it. The last thing you want to do, if you do start to regroup back into an office or getting back together again, is then find out that people have been storing information elsewhere on their PCs and on their laptops and things like that. So, really important there, kind of step forward, is about making sure you're getting the right tech and making sure it's working properly, making sure people know how to use it, and you're using the tools that you're potentially, selling yourself to help and support your own workforce itself. Right, up next is about employee engagement, having an employee engagement plan. Now, years ago, we just used to come to work, did the work, got paid, went home, and that was it. And there's many people out there that do that. And depending on how much studying you've done on team building and all of those kind of good things about how to build a high performing team, which is what we did for many years, employee engagement is really about the art of making you and creating a great leadership role that people will want to follow. They want to help out. They'll offer advice when there's problems and there's support. They won't be afraid to speak up if things are wrong. They'll see what's going on elsewhere in business right now. And for myself, I've just onboarded a marketing guy, and he's coming up with stuff I've never even seen on my business, because I'm looking at what I'm focused on. And as an entrepreneur, business leader, whatever you want to call yourself, you're focusing on what one thing that's most important for you. And other people around you, you need to give them the outlet so that they can then have an environment where they feel trusted and they can help in support you grow your business, because they'll be looking at things from a different point of view. So first thing is about having regular team meetings, whether it be a daily huddle, whether it be a weekly catch up. Make sure it's got an agenda, make sure it's time scaled, make sure it's purposeful, make sure it's not just a chat. If you want to have a chat on a Friday afternoon, but make sure it's a purposeful meeting and it's a good use of everybody's time. That's always a question I used to ask at the end of every meeting I had when I was in corporate. Was this meeting a good use of your time? Score it 0 to 10. Anything below an 8, you want to find out why. So get them to feed back to you as well. So ask them, right, can you give me a bit of an update on the help desk with, I don't know, the NHS, for example, Steve. Right. So rather than you pushing information, get them to feed back. How's the digital marketing going? How's the sales going? You report back to me. I want you to tell me what's been going on this week and what the exciting things are that you've succeeded in. Make them feel part of the business. This is what this is really all about. So the next bit's all about empowering each other, making sure that they know that they can feed back to you and give them that responsibility. So on the expectation exchange, within your IPR, within their planning system that they've got, let them understand what their realms and responsibilities are. Let them know where their boundaries are, and they understand where they can make a mistake, when they've got to escalate, etc., etc. Celebrate individual successes. When someone's had a great week, tell them they've had a great week, and then tell them they've had a great week in front of everybody else, and let them really feel special about what's gone on this week. You'll see behind me, again, you need to be on YouTube for this one. I have my company values stuck on the wall here, because they're really important to me, and they're really important to my clients as well, because if I live up to these values, then I will deliver great customer service and great results for my clients. And the important thing is that when you've got company values, you can measure them by saying to your people, Johnny this week, he lived up to the great customer service value because we were helping that logistics company out, for example, and he went over and above and stayed late, and that's the values that we want to see. So within the employee engagement plan, get them to feedback to you, where they think and also where others have lived the company values. If you want to know more about company values, there'll be a podcast coming out shortly. Go and check the podcast page out on the website. Next one, have a social, once a week on a Friday afternoon, at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or whenever you kind of you want to knock off and finish. Just tell them to go and get a beer and have a bit of a chat, or do something in the evening. Some people don't want to do that. They don't want to work, or socialize in the evening, but it's always a great time. You could have a quiz, you could have a bit of fun, but it will just help build those relationships with the team. It'll help build the connections through with the team while they're, not working. They're just relaxing a little bit and, laughing about what's going on in the background when you're in your meetings, etc., etc. So that was employee engagement planning, really important there. The last step I've got here is probably one of the most important. It's about mental health and well-being. My family has had a lot of people working from home in the last few months. And to start with, it's all a bit of a nice novelty. You're kind of doing things in a certain way. And then it kind of starts to wear off a little bit, and you want to get out and you want to connect with people, and you want to, shake someone's hands or pat them on the back, or, go and have lunch and talk a lot of rubbish about the football at the weekend, or the, whatever it might be that's interesting you. We need to really have a great mechanism here built into business to help us understand when things aren't right. If people's mental health is getting deteriorated because they're working from home, then we need to identify that and address it. We need to do that you can do that through your one-to-ones. You could do that through performance management by understanding where they're lacking on performance. And I guess in this kind of space where we're lacking that connection, we are humans at the end of the day, and humans are designed to be connected individuals. And the really important thing here is finding those signals when something's not right, and having that open and friendly environment when people will feel comfortable to open up, not necessarily in a group, but individually, and say, look, I'm really struggling with this. I'm going absolutely nuts. I just don't enjoy it anymore. I want to get back to the office, or whatever it might be, and just making sure they've got that outlet. And one of the ways you can do this is, if you've got any HR, any counselling support, you can provide that for them. It's just like as a helpline. You just label it up as a helpline, and if anybody needs a bit of a help or needs a hand or wants a chat or rant and rave, because what you've got to remember as well is that this isn't just about your business. It's about your business being part of somebody else's house. For example, if they're home working, they might also have their husband or their wife working from home. They could have the kids still at home. You've got summer holidays coming up. There could be all sorts of other considerations that you don't even know. All you see is this screen at the back, and you probably don't even know half of what's going on there. You're not having those water cooler chats about how's it going. And then you see people's body language. Oh, I'm all right, not too bad. Didn't have a great weekend, had an argument with the other half, and kind of those sorts of things. Those are the things you need to kind of work out how you're going to replicate that. Let them have downtime during the day. Let them have the time to pop to the shops, to pop out for lunchtime, a bit of a break. It is mind-numbing sitting in front of a desk all day long. So make sure that they understand what their expectation is around going out, having a wander, keeping the blood flowing. At the end of the day, you can't just sit there in front of a desk all day for 8 or 9 hours. You'll absolutely go mad. So for me, we go out for a walk in the morning, get the blood flowing, lunchtime, have a bit of lunch, light lunch, and then go and do exactly the same thing again. Get the feet moving around, get the blood flowing around the body, helps you work with your mind. And then the same when we get home. So just remember, everybody needs that bit of downtime. If they've got to pop to the shops, if they need to go and walk the dog, let them do that. But let them know as well when there's times when that's not appropriate to do that. If you have an emergency or a client escalation, for example. And then depending on the environment, depending on where you are, meet up regularly. Now, I think a lot of businesses are going to be working as an online remote way. But I think it would still be a great idea to meet up once every couple of weeks, once every month, something like that. Rent out a hotel room or something like that, and then all have a monthly meeting so you can see what's going on, a bit of a performance review. You get to connect, you get to sort of see each other again. And, this COVID thing is going to pass. And the world is going to be a very different place after it. But we need to make sure that we've got, still getting that connection. We're still meeting up with those people, as and whenever it sees fit for your business model. So that's the end of the episode. And and if you follow those steps that we went through there, I know that you will be able to build a really strong, resilient tech team. that are remote. And, I've done it for many years through different types of businesses across, most of the UK. And I know that these things work. And this is what we kind of do at IT Experts. This is how we help IT, MSP and tech businesses with their growth strategies, with their people. This kind of sits under the people planning side of the model, really. And it's all about how we get the right people so that we can scale and grow our businesses. So look, if you found this interesting, then, jump over to the website, see what's going on. We've got some really exciting things going on right now. We've got a new app coming up, so you're going to be able to consume more content, get hold of me, and attend some live Q&As and some great things going on there. But, if we're not connected on LinkedIn, let's connect on LinkedIn. Tell me that you listen to the show. It'd be really great to hear that these messages are getting through and that they're, resonating with you. And if there's anything that we can help you out with, do you know where we are? So we can help you out. So that's it from me. You go and enjoy the rest of your day. Share some of these tips and tricks with your leadership team. Pick the ones that work for you best. Don't go and overwhelm yourself. Put yourself together a 30, 60, 90-day plan. Go and have a great day, and I look forward to catching up with you soon. All the best now, and take care. So thanks very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, then please remember to subscribe, rate and review. I'd really appreciate that. And also check the show notes out for all the latest developments at the IT Experts Growth Academy. If we haven't already, then let's connect on LinkedIn, YouTube and over at our website at innovate2success.com. Until next time, you look after yourself and I'll catch up with you soon.